Hello， 你好，我是医生。那今天又来跟你分享我的学习心得了。那我说过，因为我希望呢能够当你的好同学。那我并不是大师，只是希望能够以一个同学的身份呢来跟你分享我学到的很多很棒的心得。那希望能够帮助你在组织行销的经营或是生活各个层面都能有更大的一个提升跟一个帮助。对，那上一次我提到过，今天我会来分享，就是我们就是如果说伙伴离开的时候的心态应该如何去面对。那其实就是今天要讲的是 Jim Rohn 爷爷的智慧语录嘛。那就像我之前说的，他的 CD， 他的这个演讲 CD 非常的有魅力。那我之前就是过去几年已经常常在一边开车的时候一边听这个 CD。那听着听着，觉得心态就已经先建立起来了。所以我觉得学习呢，就是当你还没有遇到的时候，先学习起来。那我觉得真的情况发生的时候呢，你会很感谢你自己做出这样子的付出这样的一个时间去投资它。那Jim Rohn爷爷这段影片有点长，所以这边呢我就不会多说。那我们现在就来观赏这段影片。
Now here's the second law that changed my life forever in network marketing. I learned the law of sowing and reaping. And in the law of sowing and reaping is also the story of the law of averages. Jot this down. The story of the sower comes from the Bible. I'm an amateur on the Bible, but this is such a useful story. Here's what the story says. And take the notes because the drama's in the details. The sower was ambitious. Evidently he was ambitious. When you read the whole story, you'll conclude, yes, this was an ambitious sower. Here was number two. He had excellent seed. The sower who sowed the seed had excellent seed. And the excellent seed could be an excellent opportunity, an excellent product, an excellent story. So we've got an ambitious sower with excellent seed. But now here's the rest of the details of the story. For your information, for the drama of your life, so you can understand things better. Learning some of this is how I got rich by age 31. Okay. Number one, it says the sower goes out to sow the seed, but the first part of the seed falls by the wayside and the birds get it. So jot this down. The birds are going to get some of the seed. The birds are going to get some of the seed. Now you say, well, Mr. Rohn, what does that mean? Well, I invite John to come to a meeting. He said he'd be there Tuesday night. Tuesday night I show up, John isn't there. I say, John, I wonder why John didn't make it. Now I know the answer. The birds. The birds. John had this great idea of coming to the meeting to look at an opportunity, and somebody stole it and said, you're not going to go see network marketing. And he says, well, maybe not. So have you jotted that down now? The birds are going to get some. Now when the birds get some, you've got two options. Number one is to chase birds. And say, well, let me get a hold of the person that talked him out of coming to the meeting. I'll tear him a new page. But I wouldn't do this. Here's what happens if you go chasing birds. You leave the field. If you go chasing birds now, you leave the field, which is going to distract from your future, not add. So you can't chase birds and try to straighten this stuff out. Here's what it is. It's just one of those things. And here's the best comment when things are a little disappointing. Isn't that interesting? You just have to say, I thought sure he would do that. He promised me. He promised me. But I know it was the birds. And you just have to say, isn't that interesting? Now, here's the rest of the story. It says, the sower kept on sowing. See, that was the secret to his success. He kept on sowing. And if you keep sowing, you can sow more than the birds can get because there aren't enough birds. If you keep sowing, there are some birds, but there's not enough. Because the law of averages will work for you. My mentor taught me, he said, you know, Mr. Rohn, there's only 9 or 10 real nasty, miserable people in the whole world. Now he says they move around a lot, you know, and you're liable to... You'll bump into one once in a while. But when you bump into one, you say, there's only 9 more like you, I can handle that. In the whole world? Okay. Now here's what else it says. The sower now keeps sowing the seed. Now the seed falls, the story says, on rocky ground where the soil is shallow. And the rocky ground where the soil is shallow is not of your making, because you had excellent seed and you were an ambitious sower. So the rocky ground where the soil is shallow is not of your making. But here's what it says what happened. This time, the little seed that falls in the ground starts to grow, and the little plant starts to grow. But the first hot day, it withers and dies. Not an easy thing to watch. I finally get John started. Sure enough, 3 or 4 days later, somebody says, boo, and he goes, he's gone. Doesn't show up at the second meeting. And I say, I thought, sure, John had lasted a week. What happened? Jot this down. The hot weather is going to get some. And this is not of your making. Here's what you must say when that happens. Isn't that interesting? What can you do? The answer is nothing. You say, well, I'm going to try to change this. I wouldn't take that class. You know, the sun comes up in the east. Somebody says, why is that? I wouldn't spend much time on that. Just let that happen. Don't go for this why stuff. I'm giving you the answers here. The answers is in the structure, and the consequences and in the deal. The answer is in the deal. Anything beyond that is not worth studying. So how come some just last a little while? I wouldn't sign up for that class. Here's the answer. Some don't stay. You just have to jot that down. And when some leaves, you say, that's one of those that don't stay. Now you know what category to put them in. And you can't solve this now. You can't, it's like rearranging the seasons. You can't fool with that. All you can do is cooperate with the way things are set up. I didn't set it up. You say, well, it shouldn't be this way. Well, when you get your own planet, you can rearrange this whole deal. But on this planet, you're a guest. You got to take it as it comes. Now, here was the secret to the ambitious sower with good seed. It said he kept on sowing. Now, here's what he had to do to keep on sowing. He had to discipline his disappointment. This is a key phrase now to use the rest of your life. You must learn to discipline your disappointment, because you didn't set up the setup, and some are not going to stay, and that is not of your making. Now, if you made gross errors and you ran them off, see, that'd be different. Now, you're responsible for that. But if it's in the normal course of things, this is the way things are. Now, here's what it says. The sower keeps on sowing. Now it says the seed falls on thorny ground. And somebody says, well, how much of this do you have to go through? Well, hang on. It's not the end of the story now. Now the little seed falls on thorny ground. And now the little plant starts to grow again. But as the little plant starts to grow, the thorns choke it to death. And it dies. So jot this down. The thorns are going to get some. And that's not of your making. And what are these thorns? The story even called these little thorns, little cares, little distractions, little somethings. Who knows what all they are? I say, John, we had a meeting last night, you weren't here. John says, well, I can't make every meeting. I say, why not? You're part-time. He said, well, the screen door came off the hinges. And you just can't let your house fall apart. You got to take some time and fix things up. And I can hear the thorns going, He says some extra trash had piled up in the garage. You can't let mountains of trash take over. You got to keep your trash hauled out. People who let little things cheat them out of big opportunities. People who let little things cheat them out of big opportunities. And you feel almost helpless. What could I do about that? And that's nothing. And you say, well, why is this? I'm asking you not to sign up for that class. Don't sign up for these why is this class. It's just the way it is. Like winter following fall and spring following winter. So if you got that, the thorns are going to get some. But now here's the good news. Let's read the rest of the story now quickly. The sower now what? Keeps on sowing the seed. Keeps on sharing the story. keeps on giving an invitation. Yes, the invitation can be more powerful for me as it was 1 year later than it was the first month. Because now I'm saying I'm making twice as much money part-time as I'm making on my full-time job. Yes, the story can be more powerful, but the law of average is still going to work. But now here's what the story said. Finally, the seed falls on good ground. Finally, the seed falls on good ground. Now put this in parentheses. It always will, if you keep sowing. If you share a good idea long enough, it will fall on good people. But now here's the rest of that story. Some of the good ground did 30%. And some of the good ground did 60%. And some of the good ground did 100%. You say, well, why the difference in numbers? I wouldn't sign up for that class. Come on. Have I said that often enough now? Don't register for that class. It's just the way it is. Now, I tried to get the 30s to do 60. Found out it was more than I could handle. I used to say, I'll make them successful if it kills me. I almost died. No, you can't do that. Here's what you do. Let the 30s do 30 to the best of their ability and keep doing 30, because that's how they build their lifestyle and get what they want out of life. And let the 60s do 60, and let the 100s do 100s. Now, how can you get some to do 100%? You got to go through all these experiences, and you got to talk to all these people.
OK， 那这个很有趣，对不对？因为Jim Rohn 爷爷刚整部影片的重点，最棒的就是讲说，当我们遇到这种情况的时候，我们应该有的回应是什么？就是 Isn't that interesting？ 这不是很有趣吗？那其实我觉得遇到很多事情的时候，我们都可以这样去看待，因为本来很多事情就不是你造成的，也不是你能够安排的，这不是你自己的星球。对，所以当我们只要遇到事情的时候，可能只要一句“这不是很有趣吗？”可能就这样一笑就可以带过了。那我们这位伙伴可能没有缘分，没关系，那我们就是继续的去协助其他的伙伴，或是找到其他更有缘分的伙伴。那另外就是Jim Rohn爷爷说，有一些事情我们并不需要花太多的心思在探讨。那他的英文叫做 "I wouldn't sign up for that class"。那这句话字面上意思就是说我不会去报名这堂课程，也就是我不会想要去知道说为什么会这样，为什么他们会走，为什么他们留不住。所以Jim Rohn爷爷的智慧真的是很有幽默感，那又让我们可以学到很多，真的觉得很棒。那今天呢是礼拜四，刚才呢我才从我们自己本身团队的训练当中回来，那我现在充满了满满的能量，希望可以跟你分享。那当然我们知道 Jim Rohn 爷你已经看到了嘛，他讲故事的技巧跟这个魅力是非常的高的，所以他真的是一个很厉害的非常棒的一位老师。那只是因为突然想跟你分享这个，因为今年呢我们现在的也是一个老师，美国人，他也非常的厉害。我觉得这是继承了，不只是继承了 Jim Rohn 爷爷的讲故事的方式，他还用演的。那我真的觉得非常的期待。那我们有几个伙伴都会一起去香港，在今年的11月。对，那再来就是说，如果你喜欢这段影片的话呢，因为这段影片今天这段影片比较长，那我就不会再分享太多事情，占用你的时间。希望今天能够帮助到你。所以如果你喜欢这段影片的话呢，请你在底下帮我留个言，加油打个气。最近我接到就是有认识一些网友来跟我用 LINE 聊天，那有些真的就是也让我收获很多，我觉得非常的棒。所以我们大家可以像同学一样的交流。那在接下来就是下一部影片呢，我想要跟你分享我的 why。那听听我的 why 呢，也可以帮助你想想看你的 why。在你做这个组织行销事业，或者是任何的事业，我觉得有一个 why， 或者是有一个故事，一个转捩点，都会让你更清楚自己为什么要做这件事情。当你可能觉得有一点点没有什么动力的时候，它会帮助你把你自己拉回来。那下一段影片呢会比较多关于我自己是谁。那因为我想说，今天各位都已经看我的影片看到这已经不知道第几部了，那我一直没有 跟各位介绍，就是我为什么会去经营组织行销，那为什么会会有动力去学习，然后来分享这样子，所以会比较多关于我个人，那也可以让各位更认识一下我。那当然之后呢，我还是会持续的分享我每一次学到的很棒的内容。那在接下来就是下一个月呢，因为如果你喜欢我的影片的话，那就是非常感谢。那8月份的时候，其实我会去越南，上一堂也是我们现在我所在的这个事业的那个老师，我说会用演的，但是他8月份这个课程呢，他会教导说，个人成长还有领导能力的部分。那我也非常希望可以分享给现在正在看影片的你。那这边我想请问，就是说，如果有任何关于个人成长还有领导能力的部分，如果有你希望能够从我这边听到，或者是我的课程内容可能可以学到一些分享给你的，请你都不用客气，都可以留言在底下留言，或者是呢加我的 LINE， 那跟我来讨论这样子，那我会很乐意的在之后的影片呢分享给你。那今天的影片呢，如果你喜欢的话，请你在底下呢帮我们留个言或按个赞，或者是呢LINE帮我加个油打个气，我也会很乐意跟你聊天。谢谢你。那我们今天呢这段影片就到这里了，那我们一起加油，谢谢，拜拜。